let's talk about the paper trail the United States used to justify its conquest of a continent. Right from the start, the U.S. promised something different: justice and humanity for native lands. They even knew the land wasn't France's to sell. It belonged to the tribes who lived there. So the plan was simple: no more conquest. Instead, they'd use formal treaties and pay for the land. But as more settlers pushed west, that plan started to fall apart fast. When tribes near the Great Lakes drew a line in the sand, the U.S. went to war over it. Down in Alabama, the government guaranteed the Muskogee Nation their ancestral lands forever. Well, forever lasted about 4 years before the military was called in to kick them out. And this wasn't an isolated case. All kinds of shady tactics became the norm for getting land. Just how many treaties are we talking about? Over nearly 100 years, they signed 368 of them. All this paperwork created what looked like justice, but it was just covering up a conquest. Things really heated up in the South. Why? The land was perfect for a new cotton kingdom. So the Cherokee Nation fought back, but not with weapons. They used the American legal system. And you know what? They won. The Supreme Court actually sided with them, affirming their rights. But President Andrew Jackson basically said, so what? He just refused to enforce the law. Instead, Jackson pushed his own plan through Congress, the Indian Removal Act. On paper, the law sounded okay. It talked about voluntary and peaceful negotiation. But it was just more pretend humanity. Jackson had no intention of actually following that law. So what was the result? Almost 100,000 people were forced from their homes. This forced march, over 1,000 miles long, is now known as the Trail of Tears. So you see the systematic, documented process that resulted in mass displacement and ethnic cleansing. It leaves us with a pretty big question about the legacy of a nation built this way.